All, yes. I didn't underline any of these because I don't have the evidence yet, but this defrauding of a public utility too? Yes. Somebody's been paying for all the electricity that you were using to electrocute me. Yeah, somebody was. Must be a public utility being defrauded. Obviously, they wouldn't want to do that. I mean, how many public utilities would actually use the electricity public utility district? Yes. To intentionally sow in a lizard grid so as to cause a lot of anger and frustration in the minds and bodies of those that are citizens. Pooch. Now, once I finally am able to sue those in office, police, sheriffs, elected oaths, then I ask them, well, exactly how did you pay for all this electricity? Were you defrauding a public utility? And were you defrauding them to the extent that it involved millions of dollars in lost electricity, which could be billions when I go through the whole nation? Po, 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 po. Now, this doesn't violation code. Yes, I just wanted to look at that. Yeah, exactly. How much defrauding did you do? Now, there's what's known as digital signature fraud. Yes, unranked. Mm, I know your dog doesn't know how to write. Okay. But for every time that you said your dog was you and had signed any sort of electronic pin pad, that would be digital signature fraud. Now, you know these squiggles that you call fish signature? Yes. Yes, we went through a lot of signatures about 6 months ago. We sure did. These little pads that everybody has to sign when signing for prescriptions or signing that a debit card or credit card or any of those. This digital signature fraud where you just nobody looks at these things. Why don't you find me all of those? Every location where they have a digital signature, right, to sign any sort of debit, credit, or transaction. Yes. Now, I know. You're the oath, the badge, the attorney. Poo-poo. You're the sheriff. You're the police officer. You're the elected oath of office or public official, mandatory reporter. Yes. That didn't really have to enforce my rights because you thought that you weren't liable for your sworn oath of office. But if I find anything that doesn't look like your actual signature pad, signature, pooch, because your dog had to sign for everything and all they do is make some sort of squivel, it's kind of like if you looked at the two signatures of the ex officio Superior Court clerk, yes, they are actual photocopies, yes, but I have it in the actual ink, right? But when you facsimiled, yes, a copy of Exhibit A without that signature, pooch, are faxes considered digital? Now, could you get me all the signature pads of all the individuals that are legally liable for the profession, right? The liability for the knowledge of child abduction, kidnapping, pooch, and signature pad fraud. Now, if I look through Christy Miller's prescriptions, seems like a mean thing to do. I looked at her actual credit cards and debit cards. Yes, I looked at the actual transactions that involved a digital signature, a signature pad signature, which is her signature, does it look more like the weapon surrender form signature? Or does it look more like the protection order signature? Which, now you should be able to see some. Now, I mentioned the slant of the signature of Heidi Lee Budner versus Heidi Lee Budneck. Yes, yes, yes. Why don't you get my wife's use of her welfare card, her debit card, and any other card that she had for the last 40 years? And pooch, every signature pad that she signed, I'd like to know of the signatures on the actual court documents, how many of them have the slant of the Heidi Lee Budnick that I was married to?